Welcome to Unite Now, where we bring unity to you, wherever you are.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day today, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. We've got our moderators in the chat there, already answering people's questions. Already got 270 people in at the moment.
Starting strong today.
Welcome. Oh, yeah. Stockholm, Sweden.
Should we ask our starting question here for the day?
Yeah, what is your gaming system of choice? Ooh,
See
hello
what
from
everyone says.
Scotland.
Nintendo DS. I like it.
Classic.
I haven't played that for quite a while.
I think the last time I played was the last Pokemon that was on it.
Oh, I haven't played Pokemon in so long. A little bit of Pokemon Go, but that was the last time.
Oh, you need to get Sword and Shield. Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah?
Easily
Should
the
pick
best
it up?
Pokemon ever
Really?
made, I think.
Or if Carl recommends it, I know what I'm playing this weekend.
You will very easily get sucked into finishing the entire thing in one go.
Yeah, I'm seeing lots of PC on here. I guess it makes sense. We're a PC platform here. PS4.
Somebody uses a 9x9 array of potatoes to
Wow.
power their laptop. Those must be some very powerful potatoes.
Those are very big potatoes, I suppose.
Oculus Quest. Wow.
Quest is really fun. When I first came out, I was like, it doesn't seem that powerful, but that freedom it gives you is so nice. I'm loving the Quest.
Having no strings.
Yeah, just freedom. Lots of PC. I've been PC mainly lately. I've been back on Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, that's a great game.
I watched that the space launch the other day. Where they put those two astronauts up, and I was like, I got to play Kerbal.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good thing I don't work for NASA, though, because those astronauts would not have made it if it was up to me.
It's always a one-way trip. Just depends on how far you can go.
Exactly.
PS, PlayStation.
Surprised there's not more Nintendo Switches. I'm seeing a few pop up, but a lot of PC in here.
A lot of PC folks. Somebody asked, I'm completely new to C# and coding, so is this course for me? So this is a perfect course for you. People are already starting to finish the first prototype, but highly recommend you go through it. Our course basically assumes that you have no knowledge of Unity or coding whatsoever, so all of the videos that we have will help you learn about that along the way. I'll move my chat up a little bit. There you go.
Yeah, lots of questions about C# the other day, and people saying, hey, I know this, or I don't know it at all, but you guys can pick it up quick. I believe in you.
Now my thumbnails are in the way. There you go.
Looks like we are a little past the hour. Should we get started here?
We are. Yeah, let's go. Well, welcome, everybody. We have 648 people today. I'm sure some people are already on the weekend, so they may or may not join us, but welcome to Create with Code, July 17th, this Friday, or maybe Saturday, depending on where you are, where we'll be walking you through the bonus features that we introduced to you on Monday. So with that, I am one of your instructors today. I'm Carl Domingo. I'm a student advocate manager here at Unity, here to help make your experience as a student amazing. And I'm joined here by a new face, Ben Mcilmoyle. You want to tell folks who you are, Ben?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I guess my official title is an education evangelist, which really means I deal a lot with universities and high schools and educational institutes. Once the pandemic clears up, hopefully soon, I'll be actually able to go to these schools and talk to a lot of students face to face. Hopefully, I'll be able to see some of you even in the near future.
Awesome. And today we are joined by our amazing slew of moderators. We have Ethan, Alex, Greg, James, Kobe, and I'm sure we have a couple more folks in there. We did have a ton of questions on Monday and Wednesday. So we'll see how many pop up over today. But we're excited to get into this Create with Code session today. So Just a little bit of Zoom housekeeping for all of you. So just as a reminder, your microphone is muted. That way we can make sure to bring you all of the amazing content that we'll show you today. If you have a question, feel free to use the Q&A webinar panel, especially if you have particularly technical questions. Our moderators in there are helping to answer and help fix a lot of issues that you may be running into. If you have a comment, send us a message in the chat webinar panel. That's where we actually follow and take a look at all of the different comments that you have as we're going through the project today. And we have some polls coming up, so keep your eyes out for those and get ready to get on to Poll Everywhere. That way you can join. And as a reminder, this session will be recorded and all messages will be seen by Unity. So remember, please be kind in the chat. If you're spamming or anything like that, you will be flagged. And if you do get that warning and you continue, you will be removed. So please be mindful of all the folks that are in the chat today. And as a reminder, in the chat, you can only communicate to us and the moderators. That way, it's just easier for us to see all the different questions that come through. And that way, the chat doesn't get flooded with a lot of different comments. So, a quick poll for today. How are you doing? All the way from red face to green face, everywhere in between. Sad, happy, medium.
Lots of greens. I'm liking that.
A lot of greens. Got one red,
Friday.
which I think was actually from our last time that we did this. Just never got rid of it, but that's okay. Hopefully we can bring that red back up to a green.
Friday.
Somebody's a red already.
Oh, no. Well, hopefully we can turn that around today. Let's see.
Exactly. And, tomorrow's the weekend, or in some case, today's the weekend, depending on where you are. That may contribute to why you're red, because you have to do this on a weekend, but apologies for that, but it'll still be a fun session. There's a lot to learn, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Is it ever really a bad day if you get to do game dev?
No, that's true. It's always a lot of fun, even on the days where you have that bug that's impossible to figure out. So let's go to the next poll here. Oh, still have some of the responses saved. That's okay. How many live sessions have you been to this week?
Wow, a lot of
people that have been here Monday and Wednesday. Let's see, how many people is that? 842.
Wow, yeah, okay. I'm glad we have a lot of return viewers. I was a moderator on the last two streams, so I've been talking to some of you, and glad to see that you're sticking it out. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen Ben in that chat over there. Awesome. All right, and so for this week, how many of this week's units were you able to complete? A lot of people got the prototype finished. That's awesome.
Okay.
A couple of folks that are still working through some of the projects, so that's okay.
Challenges coming
10% that got through the bonus feature.
Wow.
Oh, we've broken the poll once again, so good job, everybody. Awesome. All right, well, with that, let's dig into what we're doing today. So Monday, we walked you through the prototype, and we saw quite a few of you have managed to finish that prototype and some of the features and challenges. Wednesday, we went through that troubleshooting session, so hopefully that was something helpful for all of you folks to see some of the issues that you may run into and some ways that you can fix that. But today we have something particularly fun where Ben is going to walk us through those bonus features that we introduced on Monday, and a couple of you actually tried to do, and we'll show you a cool solution that Ben tried to do, and then we'll throw it to you to add in some features to our game that Ben will try to make. So, with that, let's get into our bonus feature walkthroughs. So let's remind you all of the different features that we showed you. We had that easy feature to create stacks, piles, pyramids of obstacles for the vehicle to drive through. We have that medium challenge where you can have a bunch of other cars that are driving down the road, which the player has to avoid. We have the harder feature, which allows players to press a key on the keyboard to switch camera views. That's kind of a cool one for getting that first-person view if you wanted to. And then last but not least, we have a split-screen multiplayer, so making a little local multiplayer game, and a little bonus if you can add some kind of celebration for that winning vehicle. So we'll actually throw it to you to see what you want Ben to do today. So which bonus feature do you want to see demonstrated here?
Wow, the expert. You invite me on the stream, Carl, and then just immediately let's go right to expert level.
It's a very popular one. It's interesting.
Let's see. I've seen a few of you completing it yourselves on Twitter. That's awesome. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. Yeah. All right. It looks like it's really taking it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of interest for the expert one. I mean, the nice thing about the expert one too is it does take in a lot of different pieces that you did over the course of this week. So
Absolutely.
it's there's just some little nuances in there. I guess it seems like expert is the one that people want to see. So Ben, do you want to take over from here, and we'll see what kind of solution you come up with for yourself.
Absolutely. Let me take the screen share here. All right, you should be seeing my screen. We should be in Unity. Hopefully,
Awesome. I do see a Unity.
a Unity. Okay, we're in a Unity. Let's take a quick reminder of where we were at. Hopefully, you've done the lessons this week, and you should have a vehicle like this that you can drive down the road. You can hit some boxes, and you can reverse, turn around, something like this. So this is my starting point today. Hopefully, you're at something similar. And we're going to do the expert challenge. Oops, just fell off the world. So let's think about what the expert challenge was to start. It's a pretty big one. There's multiple points to it. And maybe you even think about it like you're working at a real game dev studio. I've worked in industry for a while now, and quite often a designer might come to me and say, hey, I want this feature. And you go, I don't know how to do that. But break it down into smaller parts and start doing it one step at a time. So we know we need to have multiple vehicles. They need to be controllable through 2 different inputs so that you can have 2 people playing. And we need 2 cameras. So let's break that down and see what we can do. Let's start with the vehicles. We've definitely already done that in the course. So let's make a little room. So let's take our original vehicle. I chose the pickup truck. I see some of you have changed that out. It's totally fine. Going to move that over. And just like we did in the course, I can come down to the assets down here. Let me just expand that just a little bit. And you should see the vehicles. Now, we can choose whatever vehicle we want. I think it's most exciting to have a tank. Let's bring that tank in here. So just drag it and drop it into the scene. There we go. And we can start thinking about what did we do in the course to make this pickup truck accessible. We did a few things. I guess, first of all, we can rename this tank with a name that's a bit more meaningful to us. So if we have to come back to this, it's easy to find in our scene. So let's rename this just tank. Simple enough, I think. And let's look at what else we did on the original vehicle. If we go over to this pickup truck, you'll remember we had to add a rigid body, and that was responsible for adding gravity and making it being able to collide with those boxes in our scene. And we also added the player controller script that we created. So I think that's a good spot for our new vehicle as well. Let's double down there.
We are getting some feedback, Ben, that your screen is a little bit blurry, so I guess we'll have to turn off that HD option, unfortunately.
Let's try this.
We're trying something new to make it so that the when we're playing in Unity, it's a little bit cleaner. But
let's see if chat says it's less blurry now. But hopefully that's a little bit better for everyone. And if it's not, let us know. We'll try to correct that for you. But anyways, back to this. Let's think about this tank. We're adding those 2 new things. So let's go ahead and add the rigid body component onto this tank. There we go. And we can also add, I believe we called it player controller. There it is. So if I add both of those scripts on here, and let's just test it to see what we get. I can start driving, and actually we have a little bit of synchronized driving. It's like a new Olympic sport. You can control
be a cool idea for a new game.
Yeah, I mean, I've made games like this where you're playing around and it's a bug, but it then becomes a core feature of your game. But we definitely have 2 vehicles. We have them both drivable, but we have them so they're controlling at the same time. So that's our secondary, I guess, challenge, or part of the challenge is we need to have them controllable with different keys. And I think in the challenge, it was the WASD keys for one player and the arrow keys for the other. And right now, they actually both work for both vehicles. So I can hit my, I'm hitting W and S here, or I'm hitting my arrow keys now. They're both controlling. So let's look at how we can separate that. And I think if you asked any programmer this question, if you asked 50, 100 programmers this question, they might give you 100 different answers. But what I'm going to do today is actually look at the input system in Unity. And to get to that, you can go up to Edit, come down to Project Settings, and then if it's not already selected, just click on Input over here. I'll bring that to the middle. Oops, there we go. And it'll probably be minimized like this. You can just hit that arrow to open that up. And what this is going to give you is a list of axes, as we call them. And in our code, we use the keys, or the strings, I should say, horizontal and vertical. So if I look in my, let's see if I have it up here. I do. In our player controller code we wrote in this course, we just put in this word for get access horizontal. And this isn't some magic that's happening behind the scene. This is where it's actually set up by default. And if you expand both horizontal and vertical, you can see here, I have positive and negative buttons assigned to this axis. So I can use my left and right, or I can use my A and D keys, and they're both add to this axis. And if you don't understand fully what an axis is yet, don't worry. You can just follow along or rewatch this video after, and it'll help you get through it. So what we're going to do here is we don't want left and right and A and D to work on the same axis. So I'm actually going to remove this alternative negative and alternative positive buttons. So I'm just removing them all together. And that's going to make it so now I can only control the vehicles with my arrow keys. If I come down to my vertical axis, we're going to do the same thing. Let's remove the S and the W. So at this point, if I play my game, I can still drive. If I move this out of the way, I can still drive, but only with my arrow keys. The other keys will no longer work. So let's go back to our input manager. And let's actually, if you right click on horizontal, you can duplicate the array element. It just really means copy and paste it. And you'll see it actually creates an exact copy of that original horizontal axis. Now, we're going to want a secondary axis. We're creating a new one here. And I think just this is going to control player 2. So let's call it horizontal P2 for player 2. And instead of left and right, we're going to use the A key and the D key. So now we can move the secondary axis with some different controls. And I'll minimize that and do the same thing for vertical. So let's right-click it, duplicate the array. Again, it's just really a copy and paste. And I can open up this second vertical. I'll use the same naming convention. It's good to keep your naming nice and clean. So I'll call it vertical P2. And instead of up and down, I will change down to my S key and up to the W key. And now that I've done this, we should be able to close that down. And if I ran it right now, you're still going to get the same effect because they're both using the same script. So we have to start editing the scripts to allow us to use these new axis we just set up. So back to the player controller script. And right now, as a programmer, I don't like to duplicate a lot of code and logic. I mean, I could go and copy this entire script and make a player controller, player 2, but we could also just maybe introduce a variable so we don't have to duplicate our work and just waste time, essentially. So let's go ahead and look at what we have going on. We have this this input.get axis. And we have a hard-coded value. That means we just typed in the exact value we want. And, that works, but we can also set it up as a variable like we have down here. I could go ahead and, as you see, have the speed variable, change it to whatever I want, and it just works in this function still. I can
Hey
do
Ben,
something.
real quick.
Yeah.
Your Visual Studio code is pretty small. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Of course, yes. Is that better for you? Hopefully,
Maybe a little bit more.
let's see
Maybe
what we can do here.
200.
Let's try that. That should
There
be
you
nice
go.
and big
I
for
think that looks
everyone.
better.
All right. Hopefully everyone can read that now. So what we want to do is change these hard-coded values to be variables. So let's make it a public. And we did this in the course. And remember, if we add that public keyword, we'll be able to change it in the Unity editor itself. So we're going to use a new variable type called string. And a string is really just a word. So for an example, this here, the word horizontal that we typed out, that's a string. So we can call it string. Let's say, what are we going to call this? Horizontal input, or horizontal axis, I guess is a better description. And I'll make a secondary one, another public string, and I'll call this a vertical axis. And what we're going to have, what we're going to be able to do here is put these values in still, but within the Unity editor itself. And you'll see that's really handy in just a minute. So let's let's take this horizontal axis. I can just copy it and replace this hard-coded string with this new variable we just created. So now it's horizontal axis and vertical axis. And by doing that, we're going to be able to change it in Unity itself. So let's go back to Unity and give it a second to load up. Oops, make sure you save it as well. I did.
Always important.
Yeah, always. It's a common mistake. It's going to hit you at some point. We have the player controller, but we have these two new fields we're able to edit now. Now I'm on my tank, so this is my player 2, I suppose. So I'm going to type in that axis we added to the input manager, and it's important you spell it exactly the same, or this won't work, including capitalizing it. So if you type in horizontal. I had P2. And then I also had vertical P2. So with those string values or those word values we've put in there, we should be able to play this if I've spelt it correctly. And I can drive the tank with my WASD keys. It's flying around, but I'm definitely able to control that. And we're seeing the pickup truck's not moving. So it seems like we're making progress. Let's go back to our original vehicle. And this has the exact same script on it, but it's another copy of it. So every game object, like our vehicles, will have the same script, but their own copy, which means they will have their own copy of the variables as well. So this will just plug in with the original horizontal and vertical. And now that we've done this, we should be able to drive. There's our tank going. We can drive it around. And then with my arrow keys, I can also drive around my pickup. So that's half the challenge pretty much done. We can already drag race, but it's not looking the prettiest because it's supposed to be a split screen game, but we only kind of have one camera. I can definitely leave the tank behind, and then who knows what that player is doing back there.
It's a little one-sided game.
Yeah, a little bit. So we've taken care of the first few conditions of this challenge. Let's look at the camera system. And again, I think if you're a programmer or a developer of any type, really, and you have a problem presented to you, just think about what you already know, and maybe that can help you to where to start. So we know we already have a camera in the scene, and we know it's already following this vehicle over here. And if I start thinking about this logically, well, it's like, well, I probably want a second camera so the other player can see what's going on. So let's just start there. Let's right-click on the original camera. I can copy it, and I will paste it into the hierarchy here. And it's probably a good idea to rename it just so you know what it's looking at. So maybe we'll call it Player 2 Camera. Now, naming a game object, it doesn't change any code. You don't have to do that, but it's a good idea to keep your code nice and clean and your project clean. I've definitely had it where you write a game today, you come back in 6 months, and you're like, what is anything? I don't remember. So keep your code clean. It's my advice to everyone. So we have this secondary camera, and it doesn't really look like it because they're right on top of each other, but we do have two cameras in the scene. And if I look also on this new camera, we had that follow script that we created during the course. And right now we had a game object, and maybe I'll open this up so we can remember what it was doing. We created a variable that we just called player of type game object. And whatever we assign to that variable, this camera is going to follow that around plus the offset. So the offset was what kind of put it up behind the vehicle to give us a better view. So we don't even have to change any code here, which is awesome. That's what I love. You can just take make sure you're on your player 2 camera. You can take your tank, drag it, and drop it down to this player slot. Just let it go. And now the second camera, the second copy of that script, will try to follow the tank instead of the pickup truck. So it's going to look the same when you start. But if I just let it run and go back to my scene view, you'll note that there is a camera following the tank and one camera following the pickup truck, which is awesome. And I'm actually going to add one extra bonus to this. We're doing a bonus challenge within a bonus challenge. A lot of you I know on Wednesday were complaining that the camera... Yeah, exactly. We're going all out here. But yeah, a lot of people were saying the camera was really shaky, and it's a fairly simple fix. The exact reasoning can be a little bit hard to understand, but it has to do with this update function. Now, you can think that every game object, and right now we have multiple game objects, but only two different scripts in our game. And right now, you might update the vehicle, and then it's not fully done updating, or it's the order of the camera. Is the camera being updated, then the vehicle? How does it get moved? So sometimes we can get a little confused about, should we move the camera and then wait for the vehicle to catch up, or move the vehicle? We don't really have a say in that, at least not quite yet. But what we can change this to is, instead of an update, I'm going to add the word late in front of it to make it late update. And when I do this, what's going to happen is it's going to make sure that the regular update function is called. So the regular player controller, which is moving the vehicle around, will always be called first. We know it's moved the vehicle to wherever it needs to be for that frame. After that, this will be called, and then we know if the vehicle is already in the right spot, it really cuts down on that jitter. So I'm not sure if it's going to come through very well on the webinar, But if you do this at home, you should really see a difference at this point. When you drive the vehicle, it's a lot smoother. So that's just one of
Nice.
those extra little bonus things that it's something you learn with time. But
Real
anyways,
quick,
let's get,
Ben.
yeah,
Somebody wanted to see what you did to the vehicle game objects after you added that code in. So I think it
sure.
was you adding in the axes,
Yes.
those two strings there.
Yes. So at the bottom, if you've done your code, make sure you save it, and you come back to Unity. You should have these new axes set up. And I just typed in those values. Now, those aren't any magical values I just decided to put in. You have to make sure they're spelled exactly the same as you find in your input manager. And again, that's under Edit, Project Settings, and then just make sure you click on Input. So if this string here, or this word you just typed in, make sure it matches exactly. And if you're having an issue with it, you could always copy it out of here and then come down and just paste that value in here. Just if you're like, why isn't it working? It's a good way to double check that. So hopefully that helps some people out. We're almost done here. We have 2 cameras they're following, but when we run our game, we only really see one view, which isn't really great. So again, if you're not really sure where to start or what to do with a particular issue you're given, think about what you already know. So you might be like, well, I know there's a camera, it's following it. Let's start there. Let's click on the initial camera. And even if you don't know what all these fancy looking settings do, it's maybe not a bad idea to start reading over and just play with it. It's never a bad idea to try to break things and see what happens. It's how we discover. It's how we learn. So if I'm reading through some of these, background doesn't really seem that important. Projection, maybe. When I come down to a viewport rec, and I'm like, oh, view. Well, we're trying to change the view. And this is where I encourage all my students to just play with numbers and see what happens. So we currently have this viewport rec, and we have a W, which will stand for the width of the object. And it's set to 1. And you might think, well, I want this to be split screen. I want it to take up half the screen. What's half of the number 1? 0.5. And if I plug that in, it's easy to miss, but this white viewport box we have in the background actually just shrunk in half. It got half the width it was before. And actually, if I run the game now, you'll see, hey, we're making some progress. We definitely have 2
Nice.
cameras. It's a little weird, but we definitely have 2 cameras at this point. So that did something, and it put us in the right direction. So, okay, that's step 1 on the first camera. We figured that out. Let's maybe do it on the second player camera as well. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to change its width to 0.5, half of what it initially was. Let's test it again to see what happened. And oh, well, okay, well, it's half the screen. It's definitely half. But, you generally don't want a giant black box on your TV if you're playing games. So let's try to fix this. So we have 2 cameras. They're both taking up half the screen. We know that. But now they're overlapping each other. So one camera will be drawing. It's almost like you have one monitor in front of you, and then you just put another monitor right in front so you can't see the original. So instead of having them stacked on top of each other like that, we need to offset them. So initial monitor and move the secondary one over. So let's go and, you can do either one, but let's take our initial main camera since the player is over on the right to start. And we can see, what else do we have here? We have an X value. We might be able to use this to offset its X position on the X axis. So let's try moving it over by 0.5. And if I even just look at my game view, hey, that's looking promising. We're definitely seeing 2 cameras. And at this point, if I hit play, hey, that's not too bad. We have our crazy tank flying around. Oh, I think we forgot to set the rigid body's mass, but that's okay. And we definitely have a vehicle, the pickup truck, that can drive as well. So at this point, we've pretty much, oh, perfect. I flipped myself. We successfully made a split screen multiplayer game, and I think there was also the what do we call it, the celebration. That's what we said, celebration. And I guess celebration is open into interpretation. How are we doing on time? I think we have time to put this in.
A little bit of time.
Yeah, I think we can do something. So let's think. Everyone, I encourage you to come up with your own ideas for celebration. But when I get happy, I jump for joy. I'm like a giddy little school kid jumping up and down, playing some hopscotch. So let's see if we can make these vehicles jump for joy when they win. And I guess we need a win condition. When we talk about games and game design, we often think about what is the win condition? What does the player need to do to win the game? And again, you can make this whatever you want for your game. Maybe it's they have to hit all 4 of these or they knock them off or whatever. I think just for the sake of simplicity and time, let's do a drag racing game. And whoever makes it to the end of the road first will win, as we'll call it, and they'll celebrate. So what I'm going to do is take this, I guess we need to know where the end of the road is to start. So how far away is the end of the road? And I find a really simple trick to do this is just take an existing game object you have in your scene, put it to wherever you want it to, like the finish line or whatever mark you need to do, and then you can just look at the transform and take the numbers you get from that. So let's take this box. It's just sitting there doing nothing. Let's add it, or just move it down somewhere to the end of the road. Totally up to you, wherever you think the end should be. Let's say, okay, that's about good. So it's at the position 0 on the X, 0 on the Y, and 1, okay, round it down to 125 on the Z or the Z. I'm Canadian. We had this discussion the other day about if Z or Z is right. Maybe you could tell me in the chat if you're team Z or team Z. But I'm going to say I'll probably go between both. But it's at Z 125 right now. So once
A lot of
whenever
Zeds.
a lot of Zeds, team Zeds.
I guess a lot of people from the UK today.
In the UK, yeah. It's all you Americans trying to impose your ways on me with your zebras. It's a zebra. No,
You're free to make your own decisions, Ben.
Okay. So anyways, let's continue here. So we know that this box is at 125 units down the road, essentially. So what I want to do is anytime a vehicle drives past that 125 on the Z-axis, it will celebrate, as we'll call it. So, okay, I have that number in my head, 125. Let's put the box back. I can just use Control-Z and undo the progress I've made. Nice, easy way to get back if you mess something up. So, okay, our vehicles need to get to 125 to win. Let's go back to our player controller script. It's beautiful as is, but let's add a little bit more to it. I'm going to add at the bottom here. I need to do a check to see if my transform, specifically the position, and then even more specifically the Z or the Z, is past 125. So let's write a simple if statement. If I'm going to do transform dot position dot Z is greater than 125. So if it hits 125, as soon as it goes just a hair past that, we're in the win condition or the win state here. So anything I put in this if statement here will execute only if we drive by that 125. So let's see what we can do. We know our vehicles. If I go to one here, there we go. We know they have a rigid body, and rigid bodies are responsible for the actual physics of the game object. So I can actually, in code, change the rigid body and change the physics of this object a little bit. So first I need access to that rigid body. Let's go ahead and do that at the top
And as
here.
a quick reminder for folks, so while Ben is trying to do all of this live, we'll be actually posting the solutions to all of these different bonus features on the Create with Code course on that webpage. So don't worry if you miss anything, because it will all be shared there as well.
Yeah, and some of these concepts we're talking about today, I know they're brand new if you've been just doing week 1, but don't worry, by week 2, week 3, you'll see these in the course and you'll get a better understanding. This is just kind of a quick fun exercise, but if there's something you see today that you don't understand, we'll get there. Don't worry, we'll get there together.
In fact, next week we will be covering if statements and rigid bodies and learning all about how we can take more advantage of Unity physics. So do not worry.
Don't worry. I guess this is what happens when you vote for me to do the expert. Then hey, I got to do some expert coding. So let's continue here. So I just made a public rigid body, which will allow me in editor to drag and drop the game object's rigid body, the part that's responsible for the physics. And I can do something fun here, like vehicle rigid body dot. I can do an add force. Again, this is going to be new for everyone, so don't worry if you're not fully following along just yet. It's totally okay. Up here, we use the vector3 forward, and if you remember, that's what drives our vehicle forward. It's like a little arrow coming out of the front of the vehicle that says go that way. We can do the same thing with vector3 dot up. That's going to say, hey, we want this vehicle to move in the upward direction, and we can multiply it by some force value. So I don't know. I'm going to try It's actually, we're going to be adding this. There's going to be a problem here. I'm going to leave it on purpose to show you the problem. So this is going to add 1,000 force to the vehicle once it's crossed this finish line. So let's see if this works. One more step we need to do, come back to Unity, and we'll have this new rigid body variable ready for us to go. You have to make sure you do it to both vehicles. So right now I'm on my pickup truck, which was just called vehicle. I can take its rigid body, drop it down there, do the same thing for the tank. Go to the tank, take the rigid body, drop it down there, and now if I hit play, let's see, I'm controlling the tank here. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it should be coming up. Whoa, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
So we definitely took off. Now there is one
It's now
issue.
a rocket ship.
It's a rocket for sure, and it's actually continuing to go up because we forgot one quick thing that I'll add. We'll call it. So right now we're doing this update. So every single frame, every time we draw the vehicles again, we say, hey, is your vehicle past 125? The first time it goes by that, it adds this upward force. But then also every single frame after that, we're always adding 1,000 force every single frame. So it's like a rocket. It's just going up forever at this point. So to counter this really quick before we call this, I'm going to add a private this time, bool. So a bool is like a true-false flag. It can either be true or false. That's the only options it has. And we'll say, maybe we'll call it has one, something like that. Are we in the celebration? To start, it'll be equal to false. So as soon as the game starts, we haven't won, we haven't done anything yet. We can actually add a second condition to this if statement where we can do an and has one. It's going to be confusing to some people. What the heck is an exclamation mark has one? Exclamation mark essentially reverses the logic. So if we have not won yet, then we can do this. If we have one, it won't go into this if statement. It's definitely a new concept, so please don't freak out if you haven't seen it before. We're going to get there, I think, next week.
Yeah,
the
we'll
second
go more
part
into
of
logic
this,
and some of these operators and stuff over the next few weeks. So do not worry, you will learn how to master these yourself.
And what we're going to do is the very first time it goes by 125, this has one will be false because that's what we set it to up here. After that, the first time we'll set it to true, so this will only be fired once. Now, it depends on how heavy or how massive you've made your vehicle on the rigid body, but you can just crank up a number until you find something that's good, and you can try it. And I think we should be done our challenge at this point, but let's make sure. So our tank goes, he's driving. Should have made it a little closer. It's a long way to drive. Let's see. Oh, okay. Added too much force, but it did add just some force. I broke it. I should tone down that number. But it's definitely jumped. I think we can all agree that it's gone up into space somewhere. So let's. I think we can call it there. I think we've successfully made a split-screen multiplayer game with a celebration, as we'll call it. And I'll let you all decide if that's a celebration or not. But it's something.
Yeah.
So
Looks good. Awesome. Let me take back over from here so that way we can get back to the next steps that we're going to do. And as you can see, Ben came up with his own solution. I actually saw some folks say that they did it an entirely different way with Booleans and using like key codes and stuff. Honestly, there's no perfect way to really do anything when you're coding. Whenever I, do a project, I'll find 6 different ways to do something and pick the one that I think works the best for what I need. So it's all just an iterative process, right? It's like as you go, you find things that are broken or something that you need to fix, and you just kind of work through it along the way. So awesome. Well, with that, we're on to our dev freestyle section, and we'll actually start taking some suggestions from you on what you'd want to see Ben add to the project. Now, I will say that we do want to avoid having some pretty intense solutions, some really like time intensive solutions. So we'll make sure that we try and do the ones that we're able to do today. And I totally lost where my poll was. Is this the poll? No. Yes, there it is. Cool. So let's start bringing up some responses
let's
here.
see. Yeah, if someone says, "Hey, we should make this into Grand Theft Auto," it's not going to happen today. I know we all want it to be great and we all want it to be a huge project, but we have to be realistic with our time, and we're not going to get that far today. So, let's see what everyone suggests, though. Ramp jump, okay. Camera switch. Oh, people want that other bonus feature. Okay. Obstacles and points. Okay, we could do that maybe. Speedometer. That's okay. Looks like ramp jump's still in the lead right now. Oh, speedometer's taking it. We're back and forth. It's a tight race. Yes, lots coming in still. Okay, wow. Looks like speedometer's really taking it at this point. Camera switches up there again now too. This is great. This is like horse racing, but even better.
There's so many.
So many. Wow.
Trying to go through
Okay.
all of them as they come in, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've definitely got lots to go through here. Add particle effects. That could be interesting. A windscreen. Vehicle selection. That could be interesting. Probably a little bit bigger than we have time for, but definitely a cool idea. Making a menu game. Maybe do that. Destructible boxes. Looks like speedometer's taking it here by a good shot.
quite a lot for speedometer, actually.
Yeah.
Well, which one of these do you think are
I'm trying
the best ones to do, Ben? I saw somebody said RAM optimization, which I thought was pretty funny, so I threw it in there. Definitely something that's a bit out of scope, but I did want to call it out because that is something to consider at some point if your games get pretty large. But I don't think
Yeah.
we have to worry about it for this project for now.
Yeah, I mean, we can try the speedometer. Just we don't have too much time, and we do have to create a canvas for that, which is going to make people maybe a little confused, but we can try it.
Let's see. I mean, I wonder how simple we can make it. So, do you want to try and give that one a shot, Ben? Maybe
The
and see
speedometer?
what else we can throw in.
Sure. Let's try it, and let's do the speedometer. If that's what the people are asking for. Let's see what we can do.
And I will say we will cover more about how some of user interface works as we go through and actually start adding cameras
Actually,
and stuff like that in
you
week
know what?
5 or so. Well, I
I
guess
do.
unit 5.
I just actually maybe this is someone had a comment that I think is a very good point. Right now, our speed is constant. It's if you hit the arrow
True.
key, you just get to a constant. So it's either going to be like pretty much 0 or whatever you have set to a vehicle. So maybe speedometer doesn't really make sense
That's
yet
true.
for this
Yeah.
project. Maybe you want to try the second one here then? Pick up obstacles
Obstacles and
add
points?
Yeah, let's
Sure.
try that. I mean, speedometer, we'll get there one day, but I think that logic makes sense that it's either going to be 0 or max speed. There's not a lot of in
Yeah.
between. So
We're not
okay,
actually using forces or anything right now, so it's kind of hard to actually calculate that speed.
yeah. So let's try the obstacles. I think that one will help out a lot of people. Let's do that. So okay, let's do pick up obstacles and add points. I'm going to take the screen back if you're good, Carl.
All right.
Let's take this here. All right, we should be back in a Unity at this point. So let's do obstacles and points. I think we can make this work. So do we want to have it with these boxes we want to hit, or let's add some new obstacles just for a little bit of variety here. We can add we can show the people something new. So we have these obstacles, these crates that are in the way. We can make our own obstacles though if you wanted to. So I'm going to actually use a nice feature of Unity that allows us to add simple shapes in our games without having to be an artist or making 3D models or anything like that. I'm going to go up to the game object option up top here. I'm going down to 3D object, and we have a list of what we call primitive types. Really all that means is simple 3D shapes. So we see things like a cube, which is just a box, a sphere, which is just a ball, capsule, cylinders, planes, quads, lots of cool options. But you can actually make a lot of things out of just these simple shapes. So maybe we'll use the sphere, because that could be fun. Maybe you can add a soccer ball to your game, something like that. So this is going to be my new obstacle or new pickup, or you could call it whatever you want. But what I'm gonna do in this game is if the vehicle hits this floating ball, I don't know why it's in the game, it's a pickup, we'll call it, then you gain a point or something happens. That's what we're really trying to do. So maybe we'll make it, since this is a drag racing game, or at least I've decided it is, we'll add it to the end here, and whoever picks that up is the winner. We'll just use a simple kind of idea here. So it's about the middle of the course. It's just somewhere at the end, and whoever picks that up will win the game for us. So let's do a little test here. So there's our obstacle, and if I hit it, oh boy. It's a pretty solid ball, I guess. It doesn't really move. So that's not really what we want to happen. I think what would make more sense, at least in my vision of this game, is that when we run into that obstacle, it doesn't throw our vehicles all around. It just kind of disappears, and we've picked it up. It's like Mario Kart at this point. It just goes away.
But how does that work, Ben?
Oh, I don't know, Carl. Let's see if we can do something here.
I hoped you'd know. You're the one that's developing it.
Yeah, I guess I've done it for a while. So we can probably figure this out together. So we have this object right now, this sphere object we've just added, and it has a collider on it by default. And in particular, it's a sphere collider, which really just means it's a ball. It goes perfectly around a sphere shape or a ball shape. There we go in this object. And you can see, it might be hard to see on the call, but these green little lines we see on the object, that actually shows the outline of the collider. So right now, if we hit it, it doesn't move. It's just a solid floating sphere for whatever reason. And I want it to be that if my vehicle hits it, it doesn't actually stop it. I want to be able to drive through it, but I want to be able to somehow know that I hit it at the same time. And in Unity, we actually have the perfect option built in already. On the sphere collider, we have this isTrigger option, and it's a bool value. It's a true or false value. It's just now it's in a nice little checkbox. So by default, it's off, which means it's not a trigger. But I'm going to check it on, which is going to change something really quick. It's actually going to make it so I can now drive through. Maybe I should move it a little closer for testing. But I can actually drive through it right now, and nothing happens. So it looks like there's no physics, anything happening. But in the actual physics system under the hood, something is happening. And we have access to that. Let's go ahead and I guess we can put it on the vehicle itself. Let's use the vehicle script. And this is all live coding, so I didn't practice this one exactly. So let's see what happens. But we can use a function that already exists in the engine. We haven't talked about functions or methods yet, but this is a good example of one right here. We call void update, and then our game engine, Unity, calls this function in the background and executes whatever code is in it. Now, we can write our own, and I believe we get there at some point, but we won't be there quite yet. But we're going to create one today that's actually already built into the engine, and it's called onTriggerEnter. And what I did right there...
how did you write all that code so fast, Ben?
I'm not that fast, I promise you. This is a great thing with Visual Studio and a lot of modern IDEs. Visual Studio in particular is great at this. If I start typing in a name of a function that's there, or a variable, there's lots of different ways it works, but you'll see it says onTriggerEnter. It's making a suggestion to me, and I could either click it or I can hit my tab key, and it just fills it out for me. So if you want to be a good programmer, if you want to be a successful programmer and get a career, and you need to write a lot of code in a day, definitely get used to this IntelliSense and take advantage of it when you can, because it'll save you a whole lot of time. So what's going to happen is this function here, anytime I collide with that sphere, that ball that's in our game object, whatever code I put in here, it's going to execute. And we're going to see that code happen when I hit that trigger. So maybe we can actually, just for testing purposes, take this same logic we had up here, this vehicle jumping mechanic we had. And it's going to be pretty crazy with that, so we might have to calm it down. But what's going to happen is when our vehicle hits that sphere, we should see our vehicle jump. And I'm going to calm this down to like 1,000, let's say. Even 1,000 might be a bit. Let's see what happens anyways. 100. Let's try it. So if I have this set up correctly, let's see. I drive my tank down to it. I hit it. And I might just not have enough force there. I think I am. You can see I'm slightly jumping up, but just ever so slightly. So I'll change that to 1,000 for the future. But there's a secondary part, and this is a common issue with programming. A lot of it's just trying stuff. What feels good for your game? And it's never going to be perfect the first time you do it. Very rarely, if ever. So we have two parts to this. Right now we can add a little force, great. But we also want that sphere to disappear when we pick it up. Now, I can't do it actually from this script, because we have a function built in that will destroy the object, and it's actually called destroy in code. But if I put it here, it would destroy the tank and not the sphere, which maybe that's cool, maybe not, I don't know. But it's not what I'm going for, at least. So to have this execute on the sphere instead of the tank or the pickup truck either, I'm going to have to create a new script for this. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to right-click, create a new C# script, and let's just call it, I don't know, pickup, whatever. I have a pickup truck, maybe power up, obstacle. You can call it whatever you want for your game, but I'm going to call mine power up. Hopefully that makes it clear for everyone.
Couldn't you just destroy the other game object then?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's do that.
Work smart, not hard, you know.
You're right. I'm overcomplicating things here. So let's explain that idea instead. And this is why we have teams of programmers, because everyone's always thinking differently. We have this collider up here. We definitely haven't talked about parameters yet. But this other keyword here, when we hit, and remember, this script lives on the tank. So any code here is being executed from the tank's perspective or the pickup truck's perspective. This other variable we have here is the other object in that collision. So for us, it's the sphere. So what we can do is actually do destroy, which is a function we can call, and we pass in an object. And this object we're going to pass in is the other, which in this case, oops, that's not what I wanted.
Too much code there.
You can copy and paste this one to save some time. It's going to go ahead and destroy that sphere for us. At least in theory it will. Let's see if it works.
I think you might have done something wrong, but we'll see if.
Did I?
I'm
okay.
Curious.
Let's see. So we're driving. I'll try to hit just the edge of it. Oh, we jumped. Oh. No, it looks like it's still there from that camera's perspective.
So I think you need to actually get the game object.
Oh, right. Yes, because it takes in an object, but not a game object. So this is what we need to do. We need to actually destroy the other. So this, should explain this a little bit more, what just happened. This is the type collider. So it knows about that other game object. It knows about the sphere, but it will actually just take just this collider component of that sphere and just delete that. We don't want it to delete just the collider. We want it to delete the entire game object. So thanks to Carl's vigilant eyes, I think we solved that, but let's find out.
Sometimes it always just helps to have a buddy programming, because you never know what things you run into. Sometimes you just miss a semicolon, and that's literally the entire problem of your project.
And more times than you'd know. So okay, that looks like that worked. We definitely hit that, and it's gone now. So it got destroyed, and we're getting a little close on time. Do we want to try to add? I think we had points. Or do we want to leave it there for wrap up? Your call. Carl.
Maybe we can do like simple points just by like logging it in the console or something.
Sure.
And just kind of show a little bit of that.
That's a really handy thing. So we'll
go over both triggers and console logging next week too. So this is kind of a nice little sneak peek into what you'll be doing.
Perfect. So you probably haven't seen this unless you've gone ahead, but there's this console down here, which we haven't really visited yet. And actually I'm getting a warning right now that I will clean up, just because I'll clean it up. What it said was I have 2 audio listeners in my scene, and I'm not going to explain what an audio listener is, but it's essentially, well, I guess I will. It's essentially the ears of your game. So imagine every camera has the ears of it listening for sounds, and you don't want 2 different pairs of ears for one output on your speakers. So I'm just going to remove one. It's going to clean up that issue. Just pretend it never happened.
We'll go more of our audio listeners in 2 weeks, so no worries about that too.
So now I have this console, and what this is I can actually print out text to it. So it's really useful for debugging stuff. Let's say maybe I was trying to figure out why my game object wasn't being destroyed. I could maybe print out some information that will give me more of a deep dive of what's happening in the code. For us today, I think we'll keep it nice and simple. We can just do something here. We can use our debug.log. And there's a few different options here for log error, and log warnings. So by default, we have 3 levels of different logs we can do. And depending on what information you're trying to convey, it's a good idea to change these. But for us, this is just general information. So I'm just going to use just the log. Now, if you were trying to do something like error handling, maybe you know that if these two conditions are met, it's going to cause a bug in your game. You could use the debug or the debug.log error and print out like, oh, this condition was met, bad things are happening, something like that. But for us today, we can just print out a string value again, which is just a text, whatever you want it to say. So let's start with something like we won.
Yay.
Something like that. Very exciting. And if we go ahead and run this, shouldn't look any different, should perform exactly the same. There we go. But if I'm paying attention to my log down here, we'll see we now have this text, we won. And it'll tell you what time it printed out at as well. So for me, it's just after lunchtime, getting pretty hungry. We have this text and we can see it here. And this is really handy if we have it happening more than once or lots of different messages. You can tell which order of the messages they came out. So this is a simple way to do that. Now, we wanted it to be points overall, so I can quickly adjust my game, because right now we can only really get 1 point, and that's it. But let's, we have a few minutes. I think we can get this done. Let's just copy and paste a few of these. So maybe now this is like a power-up collection game, something like that. You can copy and paste these a bunch of times.
Or like checkpoints. Yeah,
checkpoints. That's another good one. If you're like in a street racing game, you need to get to a certain intersection, something. And it's going to look like I just have one sphere, but yeah, I actually have a whole bunch of them. So maybe I'll just space them out a little bit. We'll just move them around just kind of at random, just so we have them. I'll put some way back here. So these are our new things we can pick up. I think that was all of them. Yeah, there's 4 of them. So every time we pick up one of those or hit one of those, we want to count that we've collected a point. We're adding a point. So first of all, let's think about how we can do this. We need to track how many points we have to start. Now, I can make this a public or a private, but I don't really want anyone to be able to change it through Unity itself. It's only happening in code. So I think I'm going to make this private. And I'm going to use an int, an integer value, which is a whole number. So floats, we can do things like have 20.5 if we want. Oops,
decimal points.
Decimal points, exactly. When we have integers, it's whole numbers. So like 1 or 2, you can't have 1.5. It has to be a full number. So I'm going to start with, I'll just call it points. And by default, it'll be 0. We haven't collected any points just yet. Anytime we hit one of these spheres and we call this enter trigger function, what we're going to do is add a point. So I called it points, I believe. And you can see here, this is a perfect example of IntelliSense. It knows I just created that variable. I start typing it in. It's like, hey, is this what you want? And you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Great job. So I can just do points plus plus, which is just going to add a number to that. So every time I hit a sphere and I call this function, it's going to add 1 point. So I started with 0, 1, 2, 3, so on and so on. So we're adding these points, and then we can actually print this information as well. So maybe instead of we won, I'll say points. And I will add this points. I can do a plus, like an addition sign, and I can add my variable to that. So this should spit out now how many points we have as we collect this. And we don't have information about which vehicle. Remember, this script lives on both vehicles right now, and it is a multiplayer game, at least my version is. So it's going to say points and then however many points that vehicle has. So for example, if I run over some boxes here, oh yeah, my tank is not set.
There it goes.
But that's okay. It's flying.
Oh,
so I have,
perfect landing. Oh, almost.
Almost. Let's see if I can fix it with my pickup truck. Not quite. Actually, I might be able to push it.
Nice.
But so if I pick up with this, you'll see it says points 1. And at first, this might seem like a bug, like I'm only getting 1 point. But remember, both vehicles have 1 point right now. So if I keep going with my pickup and I pick it, oh, there's points 2 and then points 3 as well. So we're definitely picking them up. They're being deleted and we're getting points there. Now, you may have noticed my pickup truck didn't jump like my tank did. And I think this will be the last thing we have time for today. I'll fix that really quick. On my tank, when I created this rigid body, I forgot to change its mass. So it has the mass of 1. And I'm not a military expert, but I think tanks are pretty heavy. So let's make it something like 5,000. I think my truck was 2,000. So we'll just do that, and you'll have to adjust the forces, but at least it's a bit more realistic now. And I think with some time there, we should maybe be clean that up, and we'll consider that done for now.
Yeah, I mean, as with anything you're doing with development, you can only get so far, right? So for today, we couldn't get like that full score set up, but we were able to at least find a way to checkpoint ourselves and keep track of the score in some way. So, maybe in a future iteration, a future version that we work on, we'll actually be able to then start keeping track of that score, right? So it's all about what you can do with the time that you have, right?
Absolutely. And I think using debug logs like that's exactly why it's there. It's an easy way for you to convey information to either yourself or maybe a team member without having to set up a full canvas and UI and things on screen. We can just use what's already here and just spit out some information, and it gives us what we need to know for the time being.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, job well done, Ben. That looks super good.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a good place to stop from here. So we'll try and actually get this project up on the website or on the Connect page, one of the two, and we'll see if we can get some of the instructions and things that we've added in for today. That way you can at least see some of the stuff that Ben has added. We've covered a lot of different things today that we'll actually go over into the next few weeks. We learned about some of those operators and logic and making our own different functions and things. So that's definitely some cool stuff that will especially pop up next week as you go through prototype for next week's project. So with that, we will wrap up today's session. We hope everybody enjoyed joining today. I know that it was definitely very interesting seeing a lot of things that Ben did. Honestly, I learned a couple of things that I didn't even know myself. So, you learn something new every day, right?
Exactly. And I mean, even like you caught something, I was going to create another script. I mean, it would have got the job done, but you made it so we had to write a lot less code, which is always good. So you're always learning in programming. There's no such thing as ever really mastering. It's always changing. You're always going to learn new things. And you need to keep that mindset as you're going through these exercises.
Yeah, nothing's ever perfect. There's never any one right way to do it. So there's always a good opportunity to, especially in that Connect group, post your code and your projects if you have any issues. That's why we do the Wednesday session so that we can show you different ways that we would do things. Sometimes I would do something different than the way Ben would do it. So, it's all about the way that you actually think about the problem. So with that, next week we will cover feeding the animals, going over some basic gameplay. So actually, if you manage to complete some of the different challenges, I should say, in general for this week, those bonus features, some of these things will seem pretty similar to what we actually did over this past week. So very exciting stuff. And with that, I would just like to say thank you, everybody, for joining today. I hope you had a fun time and learned a lot during the session. I know that it was definitely very informational for me, and always a good opportunity just to see what some of my friends would do when they're building their own projects. So anything from you, Ben?
No, I mean, thanks everyone for stopping by. It looks like we've had a good audience today. Hopefully this is a little inspiring for you. Even if you're, done this week's content, you can always go back and change your game and just explore with the code. I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and thank you to all 950 people that joined today for this session, for this morning, evening, or afternoon. And we will see you at the same time on Monday to get started with Prototype 2. So have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.